This podcast is brought to you by Penji. Penji is a creative subscription service that gives you access to pre-vetted, agency-trained creatives from all over the world. From graphic design to illustrations to social media management and web development, it's all included for one monthly price. It's time to say goodbye to the hassle of searching for top-notch creative talent. With Penji, you get quality and consistency delivered right to your inbox every day. Carefully crafted for you by humans, so meet your new creative team today. Head over to penji.co for more and enter the coupon code located within the podcast show notes.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Fully Managed Podcast. This is the podcast where we discuss marketing and business tips to help assist you in your business journeys. I'm your host, Daniela, and I'm Penji's Partnership Coordinator. I'm joined here today with a very special guest, Martin Lien from Volt. Hi, Martin. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. I am a bit under the weather for everybody listening, so don't make fun of my voice. But I am really excited to have you on the podcast today. Can you tell us, just to break the ice and get us introduced a little bit about yourself, what you do, everything that we got to know about you, favorite color, I don't know, anything?
Absolutely. Yeah, happy to. So Martin Langelo Lien, born and raised in Norway, came to the States about 10 years ago to really wanted to start companies. So came here for college, ended up getting the chance to start a company, and been loving the journey ever since.
That's awesome. So you actually were born in Norway. I would have never guessed. You have a great American accent.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, it's taken 10 years, but yeah, it's getting there.
Wow. So can you tell us a little bit about Volt, what it is, what they do, what you guys have, kind of like what makes you guys special and different?
Absolutely. So yeah, Volt is the first messaging ops suite of solutions. So I like to think of Volt like how you would think about how when you were building into email about 15 years ago, you would have to hire a server specialist. You would have to build all of these back-end software to be able to scale up simple email kind of marketing and drip campaigns for a simple e-commerce company. Today, nobody would ever do that. You would, of course, use SendGrid or MailChimp or really anything that's out there. You would never build it internally. However, SMS is just where email was 15 years ago. Companies are still wasting tons of time, energy, and millions of dollars building these internal, obsolete, repeat infrastructure just so that they can build into one vendor and then deplete it, get rid of it, and then build it up again. So that's why we created Volt, to be that kind of SendGrid for SMS, allow people to connect once and then be able to use whatever vendor that they want to and get more stability without having to waste engineering effort and time.
That's really interesting. So what I'm curious about is what actually inspired you to go ahead and do this? Because I think it's like, sometimes you have these concepts in your mind of like, oh, when I was in school, like in high school, I had this crazy idea that like a skincare app would be really good. And then I think going from like a concept of this would be really helpful to actually making it an actual thing is really difficult. Or, taking that leap, that step. How was that process for you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I can certainly say that I didn't come to the US 10 years ago thinking like, oh yeah, I'm going to come here and build this infrastructure for SMS. But it is certainly just kind of an answer to a pain that we felt ourselves. Me and my co-founder was running an SMS marketing company for 3.5 years. And we felt the pain of having to build into the vendors and get these solutions out there. And we found ourselves oftentimes spending more time dealing with the headaches of SMS delivery, throughput, setup, and issues and customer complaints than actually building the product. So we kind of had a big aha moment through doing that. And then it got even more exemplified when there was a large shift in compliance for SMS in North America, where it went from the Wild West, where anybody could just buy a phone number and send messages, to now they had to register and fill out all this business information as if they're filing their own taxes. and nobody was helping anybody through it. So we were like, okay, this is the moment. We just got to do it. So kind of to tie it into how this kind of probably applies to a lot of different areas is like the best way that we found is just kind of answering our own pain points. And we certainly would have never felt it had we not been in that industry for a while. So it gave us quite a unique perspective.
What I'm curious about as well, because I don't know if you felt any cultural differences. I'm not American either. I'm from El Salvador. And I also just feel like I work a lot with American people. And a lot of times I think there's very subtle things where I notice the cultural difference because I think as a foreigner, you're very like you kind of know a lot about American culture from growing up, right? Like we're exposed to a lot of American media and stuff, so you know. But then there's certain things that always kind of catch me off guard. And for example, I mean, you were mentioning kind of how you've evolved SMS marketing, and what I'm curious about is if you feel like that is something where you felt a cultural difference, because I feel like in Latin America, SMS marketing is still very much alive and very used. Um, and I guess it's because we're underdeveloped and, you know, like people, we get late to trends and stuff, but I definitely feel like there's still a place for that here. But I feel like in America, everything has changed so much more.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's been so many, and I mean, it sounds like you've gone through the same as well. Like coming here, there was the simplest things was shocking, right? Like we're even going to a restaurant feeling rushed, and everything else. Like it kind of comes with time. Probably took me about 2 years to get fully acclimated to it. But like for the business as well, very much so. I could not see like the SMS marketing approach that we did with the previous startup working as well internationally, unless we had adopted an approach to enable WhatsApp or I mean RCS that's coming down the funnel now. And that's the interesting part. It's like that's a huge difference. But looking internationally, businesses are leveraging WhatsApp and are
Yeah.
so implementing like RCS now quicker and quicker. And that's something that there's still the pain around the engineering piece. So as we've kind of moved up into the layers of infrastructure, now we find ourselves suddenly, I'm like, oh, well, this could actually work back home in Norway. It's kind of fun. But yeah, it was definitely a little bit of like I wouldn't call it an identity crisis, but it was like, wait, I'm building this thing. I know it works because it's growing really fast, but like, could I even do this at home?
Yeah, there's like a duality, I think,
Right.
that you feel as a foreigner. Because I definitely feel like in Latin America, you know, like WhatsApp marketing is huge. It's most businesses are always investing in WhatsApp marketing, but everyone is in WhatsApp. You look at America, nobody uses that app.
No, it's crazy. It's
Yeah.
it's been pretty interesting though. Like it's I think there was a talk that was going on at a conference we went to in Toronto, where we actually heard from kind of Google's representative talking about RCS that they're pushing for, which they're wanting to be kind of North America's answer to WhatsApp, allow for a little bit more online tracking, a little bit more online conversions. And then also WhatsApp was there. And WhatsApp's argument for the fact that, hey, they're just going to win in the industry was the fact that, hey, there is massive communities out there that is already deeply ingrained in it. And every single day, more people move to the US and more people move to Canada that is actively using WhatsApp. And that's how they communicate with their families, with their businesses, with everything. So it's not as much about like WhatsApp competing for North American. It's like traffic or market share. It's more about like, well, it's going to happen at some point. So now the question is like, will Google be able to outcompete that and move faster by sinking a lot of money into RCS? It's going to be fun. And I feel like the businesses are going to be the ones that end up winning because as they start to kind of duke it out over traffic and market share, like they're going to probably push pricing down and allow marketers and business owners to be able to leverage this new kind of communication a lot cheaper. So
yeah, for sure. And also I think because I believe most countries outside of Asia, I think most Europe, Latin America, and I would say kind of Africa, maybe in the Middle East, are using WhatsApp. I know in Asia, they're not using WhatsApp. I know that Taiwan, Japan, Korea, they use Line And
Yeah.
in China, they have their own apps. But I know that, like a majority of the world is using WhatsApp. And I know that it's going to end up getting fully integrated. Also, because Android and iPhone, I mean, I've always had that question with Americans, what do Android users do? Because, like, you can't use iMessage.
They just blow up friendships. It's get kicked out of group text just because they can't have blue text. I mean, it is definitely more of a social phenomenon here with why iPhone is so much more prevalent. But that is probably the biggest change that happened last year when Apple like acknowledged, hey, we are now going to no longer shun the Android users. Like there's going to be possible to have seamless interactions. And we'll see what the impact ends up being there. Because I mean, for a large portion of people feel like that was kind of the kind of piece that let Apple have their kind of monopoly over a large chunk of users.
The iMessage and I know I've heard people talk about the emojis too, because they don't like the Android emojis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which seems like such an easy win for Android to like kind of improve their emojis, right?
Yeah. I think like the biggest, I know that I've heard people talk about also like just kind of the integration with social media apps. Like a lot of people complain about how uploading from an Android looks really bad versus an iPhone. But it's just so much easier to integrate iPhone into social media because it's just one iOS, like, right? Like it's just one. There's so many different Androids.
No, I think, I mean, and also on the technology too, there's just so little difference, and oftentimes Android comes out with new stuff faster. So it's it's an interesting shift. It'll be cool to see over the next like 10 years. Is it still going to be that monopoly? And also for communication channels that businesses use, like, is it still going to be largely driven by SMS? I kind of doubt it. But the question is going to be, is it going to be RCS or is it going to be WhatsApp? So it's going to be fun to follow.
So, Martin, what I'm curious about is if your clients are mostly American or if they're mostly abroad, or if that's a mix. Do you think that there's a difference in how much interest they're showing through or towards SMS marketing versus how they feel about it, like for different avenues, I guess, if that makes sense?
No, that makes a ton of sense. Yeah, no. So it's I guess to as your first question, right now the majority of the problems around SMS is around the registration piece. So there's kind of two pain points. There's the registration to get set up in the first place, which is a maze to navigate, and then you got the upkeep of staying compliant. Like, can you send the messages as fast as what the carriers told you that you were allowed to, or are you sending too fast and now getting your number blocked? Like, what is like, how do you stay on top of it? And we play in the intersection of taking over that problem. So right now, the international companies that we have are all leveraging us to be able to navigate the US compliance. So the majority of companies that are international are using it for US traffic. So like they're not fully international, I guess, in the sense of using it for their own local traffic there yet. But for how the companies are viewing the problems, it still maintains the same. I mean, the build of the infrastructure, just handling, like storing messages so that you can like just create a simple chat window is something that is still gonna have to happen. You still have to build your own servers with AWS or Google Cloud or whatever. You have to store the messages. You have to use kind of Lambdas to pull back and forth information to pull it up. And that is the same whether or not it's SMS, RCS, WhatsApp, Line. So for us and our positioning, thankfully, we're not feeling too much difference or different pull from the various different markets. And we're also, I wouldn't call it lucky because it is like good for consumers, but it is difficult for businesses, is the new regulation around registration and getting set up is now rapidly making its way across the world. Most recently, the UK, where right now the new phone number registration rules came out. Ireland handled it extremely well, but Ireland now has the rule. England has the rule. Now it's going to reach most of Europe as well. And I feel like I've said it a million times on this call, but with RCS also rolling out, every single company will have to follow the same registration rules as well. which we've already thankfully built into, but that will bring it internationally immediately. So it's, yeah, the need is still there worldwide. I think the question is going to be how many of those companies are needing international traffic beyond their own country. And if they need it beyond their own country, then I think the complexities are definitely going to be just multiplied beyond just our North American traffic today.
Yeah, because then you have to adapt to different cultural
Yeah, and
set.
different country rules. I mean,
Yeah,
very
different regulations.
yeah. I mean, India, for instance, is a very interesting country for this, where right now, unless you have a local carrier that is representing your phone number, you aren't able to register a phone number in the first place. So if you had an account with one of the major players like Twilio, Telnex, whatever, then you might still not be able to use your own existing infrastructure to be able to send messages in India, just because it is so difficult and you need to use a local provider. So it's all these nuances just like multiply a million times. And it's yeah, I mean, I obviously love to do it, and I think it's a really fun challenge, but it's super niche. I mean, again, I never saw myself 10 years ago being here running an SMS company, but it is
Yeah. I think it's because it's so niche, but I think it brings into the conversation a great topic, which is how I believe being sort of niching down is becoming more and more important in the environment today, because with the rise of AI, we can generalize a lot of things through AI, and we can address a lot of general pain points in business through AI. But what we really still need a lot of human involvement isn't that detail. So I think being able to niche down your company is going to make it more valuable than kind of keeping it so general, because it's a very specific problem that you solve that nobody else can.
completely aligned there. I think that's going to be where we see the like kind of the biggest winners at kind of the tail end of this, because we call it the same thing. It's like big companies have this tribal knowledge where they've learned through the pain point, similar to what we had to go through with like running our SMS marketing company. But those people that know that is so few and far in between that it's like it's
Yeah,
difficult. You can't even really put a job description together to hire for it. And
yeah,
I
it's
think
too
it makes
specific.
sweet spots to be able to like be uniquely positioned to help. But it is like, I think you can find that in any industry. Like as long as you find an area where you have far more like industry knowledge and know-how, and if it's slightly complicated, even better. There's going to be far fewer people who can like navigate that. I mean, if you can find like industry papers and you can upload that to like Claude or ChatGPT, you can get some generalist feedback, but it is still not even close to being able to navigate some of the complexities that we've been talking about on this call.
With the whole involvement of AI, do you see that influencing your industry, the way that you manage your business, or do you think that you are able to kind of stay apart from that? I don't think any company can, but
No.
some of them are a little bit less affected than others, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, telecom has probably not been known as like the fastest moving industry, and I think that's probably an advantage in a sense to us. We're certainly leaning into it, leveraging it where it is as possible, like or as useful as possible, and also can provide trustworthy results. Most of that is for internal tools, though. Getting the tools up in hours as opposed to days and weeks, and also alleviating our engineering team's resources so they can focus on the bigger picture, I think is key. I think one of the ways it was explained to me by people I truly respect is like, don't think of your company as this interface that presents something, because the first thing that can be replicated and stolen by somebody is somebody just logging into your platform, taking a screenshot and telling any AI tool to rebuild it. I think the biggest advantage is just viewing your intrinsic knowledge, your infrastructure, your algorithms, all the information that you have as the core business kind of promise, and then leveraging AI on everything else that's not your core competency or not why customers buy you. So kind of front end and interfaces and stuff, I think is going to be pretty ubiquitous as kind of AI rolls out more. But I do think if you can focus on just like the back office and getting it as sturdy as possible, making sure that you have as much industry knowledge on the latest shifts and everything else. You can't be beat by a single person in a basement building a copy of your product if
Yeah.
you're going to innovate and building a sturdy one.
So, Martin, do you think that SMS marketing is something that can be applied to any kind of business, or do you think that it is specific to certain industries, certain business models, etc.?
Yeah, I guess specifically marketing would be probably best served right now, where the biggest use cases we're seeing is around e-commerce, where kind of direct-to-consumer brands are leveraging it with a really successful rate. And there's a lot of really cool software out there that takes the burden of building this to be able to roll it out faster. For other companies, like a lot of them leverage SMS still. Like you can think of like appointment reminders for medical companies, or even two-factor authentication messages are still a large chunk of volume. So that's super helpful if it is something that can actually present the impact. But otherwise, I mean, it really just comes down to the utility of it and how it has been put together. The campaign is only as good as what the consumers want. But of course, if you're sending something that a consumer want, they signed up for it, then you can't beat the 98% open rates. And I believe 90% of that is opened in the first 3 minutes. So that is a crazy stat to be able to, of course, lean into if you're a good brand.
Yeah, I think direct-to-consumer brands are probably the ones that see most out of it. I've done a lot of transactions through WhatsApp, surprisingly.
Yeah.
I think directly of like my local pharmacy. My mom wanted me to order some medicine for her. And she asked me to call the pharmacy, and the pharmacist was like, just do it through WhatsApp.
Yeah, exactly.
And I felt straight up like an old woman because I'm over here using my mom's landline to call the pharmacy.
No,
Like she was like, yeah, girl, just do it through WhatsApp. Like, why are you calling?
exactly. I think that's where it's very interesting to see like Latin America and also Europe, like their utilities of WhatsApp so far for business has just like it kind of makes some of the utility in the US look outdated comparatively, because those are the experiences that you want. Nobody wants to sit in a line for an hour and a half calling a pharmacist to ask if the prescription is ready. Like that's a perfect example of where
Did
just
you freeze?
check in with WhatsApp and the rest would be able to alleviate everything.
Hello.
Hello. Oh.
Oh my gosh, you froze a little.
Oh no.
I don't know if it was my internet or yours.
Well, it still kind of records everything from both sides, does it?
Yeah. I'll just cut out the bit where it got frozen.
Okay.
But can you go? I didn't hear what you said. Can you say what you were saying about WhatsApp marketing and how America is kind of behind? That's where
no, absolutely. So I mean that is exactly where you can see in Latin American use cases and European use cases that they're leveraging it for those communication pieces that consumers hate. Nobody likes to sit on a call for an hour and a half asking a pharmacist whether or not their prescription is ready. And then if they say no, well, good luck. 30 minutes later, you're going to have to sit in that queue again and wait for another answer. I actually had to do that exact thing for my wife when we were feeling under the weather the other day. And like, it's shocking, like comparatively to what you were just explaining, like being able to have just a WhatsApp conversation to check and get the like status of medication is bound to happen. There's no way that it won't. So staying on the forefront of that and being some of the first businesses to be able to roll that out, I think is going to create a massive opportunity for those businesses.
It's also very streamlined. I mean, what I'm surprised of is how streamlined text messaging, because I think the first experiences that I used to live in Asia. I lived in Taiwan before, and marketing there is just it's completely different than what you see in the West. I don't even want to say like America. I just mean like West in general it's a whole world. But I remember when I moved back to El Salvador, one of my first few experiences with um just how different everything was. And I think you can relate to just how much your own country changes when you're abroad. So then when you go back, it's like, am I a foreigner too? Right, it's weird. And I think it was that because they did do kind of like social media marketing in Taiwan, and they did do SMS marketing, especially with Line, which was the app that they used a lot. But it was very different than how you would do it through WhatsApp here in El Salvador. And I was surprised at how because when I first did something through WhatsApp, I thought in my head it would be so tedious. I was like, oh my God, no, because then I have to wait for them to text me back. Like, and it was actually super easy. They have the processes very streamlined. I think they had already kind of pinpointed what people are usually inquiring about, what the text messages are, when a person needs to get involved, and when they just have a bot doing everything. And I was surprised at just how advanced it's gotten,
Yeah.
because I think back when I remember when I was young and people were doing SMS marketing, it was the worst. It was super
yeah.
annoying.
It all basically, if anybody tried to do it today, they would be blocked immediately because
Yeah.
it just looks like spam. I mean, and that's that's kind of like I think right now why there is sort of a gap right now and why it's taking so much longer in North America too, where there is this focus on consumer protection. And that's where I think there's some concern of bringing it to a encrypted channel where suddenly the providers can't really put any spam filter because they can't even see what messages are being sent. So it leaves up to Meta for WhatsApp or Google for RCS to then police the consumers, like actual traffic. And it's a tough one, but simultaneously, like you can always block a number and you can always get better benefits from a better use case. So it's it's going to be that intrinsic battle back and forth, but it's a clear pull where it's headed. I think it's just a matter of time. And I do think people with international perspectives that have seen great experiences like that are uniquely positioned to be able to bring those experiences over to the US.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see. I think the US is always kind of an outlier in a lot of things. There's always the kind of like the way that people are doing things in America and then abroad. It's always very different.
No, definitely see that
too. Like the metric system, just everything is different. And I guess Canada is very similar to America.
No, exactly.
Yeah. But Martin, I think that's a great note to end this podcast on. It's been so great to have you. But before we end this and I let you go, I do want to give you the space to plug anything that you want to plug. If anything that we spoke about today resonated with anyone and they would want to work with you, they want to get started on SMS marketing, whatever it is, the floor is yours.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. So if anybody is dealing with the complexities of SMS infrastructure, building into any of the CPaaS providers like Twilio, Telnix, Bandwidth, and they're frustrated about building their own infrastructure, then you can find us at textvolt.com. We are always happy to geek out and talk about SMS and how to manage the infrastructure, as well as any other messaging channel, as that is rapidly growing as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I will be adding the links to your website and all of the relevant information on the description of this video below so you guys can check it out. And you know the drill, subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to all of our pages. And thank you so much for doing this today, Martin. It was so great to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
You've been listening to Fully Managed, brought to you by Penji. Check out the show notes to learn more about today's guest, and to learn more about Penji, the human-first creative subscription service, head over to penji.co. And by the way, if you're still listening, it would mean the absolute world to us if you were to share this podcast with a friend, and of course, subscribe.